welcome to this week's edition of The Box Score. I'm Tom Duggin alongside the coach Chris Vance. Technically, I guess, Coach, we would call this week 13 of the football season, 11 regular season weeks, and getting ready for week 2 of the football playoffs. My goodness, week 1 left us scratching our heads on a few scores, and few things came out like we thought they would, but as you always know, come playoff time, again, as we mentioned last week, you reset to 0-0. Anything can happen, and some things did happen last week.
In trying to put my notes together, I'm reminded of the NCAA March Madness bracket, and a lot of hours after that first Thursday are kind of good. And then a couple of hours are kind of shot and we're already kind of busted, you know.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I was reminded of is we get a Whitwell, you know, that takes out a Monterey, and there's a bracket buster. But a lot of ours just kind of seem to match up and line up like you expected pretty much.
Had a couple of games in the area that we expected to be good football games. I'm talking DeKalb County, Tullahoma, Smith County, Sweetwater, that, you know, these games literally came down to the final moments of the fourth quarter. Gordonsville, we thought they would go on the road and beat Copper Basin. They did. Some folks refer to this as an upset with it being a 3 beating a 2. But I tell you what, Coach, there's some really good first-round games. You don't get that a lot of times. The blowouts, there were some of those, of course, statewide. But in our area, I thought a pretty competitive week 1 of high school playoff action.
When you look across, in particular, our area, a lot of times there's a pretty clear-cut 1 and 2, and then you get separation with 3 and 4.
Right.
And I think that played out a lot with what we had. But when you look at a Gordonsville who's a 3 primarily because of injuries, that's occurred during the season. That probably had something to do with the Clay County loss. That probably had something to do, even though they were getting healthier with the Monterey loss at the end. So Gordonsville, to me, is not a 3 seed going in.
Right.
They're more like a 2, maybe not a 1.
Right.
But at least a 2 seed going in. So you get a 2 against a 2. And anything can happen, and, of course, Gordonsville gets the win.
All right, let's take a look at the scores from our area from last week. We'll take a look at the box scores, talk about some stats and things, and we will talk about our football game night game last week. DeKalb County gets by Tullahoma 45-34. Coach, this was a game that many thought Tullahoma was the better team. They came in 7-3, and DeKalb County, though, I think played the best game I've seen them play all year. Axel Aldino, 307 yards, 19 of 23, rushed for another 90 yards, had 4 passing touchdowns. A great night for Desmond Noakes, 4 catches, $132, 3 scores, had a rushing touchdown. Nathaniel Crook goes over 100 yards. The defense stepped up when it had to in big opportune moments. In the second half, Tullahoma could not force DeKalb County's offense off the field. They scored every time they had the football in the second half. Just a great top-to-bottom effort by DeKalb County in round 1.
A couple of things that really surprised me about this. One, and I talked about it early, the defenses for both teams I thought would really have an advantage over the offenses.
Right.
Of course, the score proved me to be right on that one because I thought that you had 7 seniors and 4 juniors on Tullahoma's side. And I love the defensive front for DeKalb County and the way that their linebackers run. And then you throw in Desmond Noakes, a lockdown corner, strong safety with an Isaac Knowles. And I thought both defenses really had the upper hand against the offenses. That wasn't the case. The other thing that surprised me was Ben Felton.
Yeah.
I think his passing yards matched up to what I expected, but I really thought he would do more damage with his feet against DeKalb County, scrambling, buying time, quarterback draws, keeps off the inside or outside zone plays, and that just didn't establish. And I think DeKalb, Coach Cagle, that defense had a lot to do with that.
I expected to see more of Brian Nelms also in their offensive backfield. His first carry of the ball game, he went 45 yards for a touchdown, touched the ball 1 other time in the game. That kind of surprised me from a Tullahoma offensive perspective. DeKalb County, total offense 499 yards in that game against Tullahoma. Great effort as DeKalb County will prepare to go to Marshall County. Let's step back to Class 1A. We mentioned Gordonsville and their 20-6 win on the road at Copper Basin. It was a tough night for Matthew Albritton, who was only 2 of 9 passing, but they get 90 yards rushing from Grant Underwood, a couple of scores. Another 90 yards from Skyshin Washer. Trayson Davis, 71 yards and a touchdown at 20-6, and they hold this Copper Basin team, Coach, to just 149 yards. They turned the ball over also 3 times in this football game. Gordonsville, the defense certainly showed up. The offense did what they had to do. I think this is going to be a formula going forward we'll continue to see for this Gordonsville team.
I think so, and it's a winning formula. We knew coming in from his 8th grade year that Albritton was a very talented quarterback who could sling it, who could make the big throws, the deep throws, strong arm. But again, if you look at what Gordonsville would like to do, they would like to run it like a wing T team would. Run it 40 or 50 times, throw it 8 to 10.
Yep.
You look at the dominance of both offensive line and defensive line for Gordonsville because they rushed for well over 250 yards, and then they limited to 150 yards of offense against them. So just a great job. And you have to look at the interior. Down lineman, defensive front, the interior lineman from tackle to tackle for Gordonsville. Just an outstanding job.
All right, Gordonsville, they'll be back home this week at Turney Ford Field to take on the Whitwell Tigers. Of course, we're going to be talking a little bit more about Whitwell coming up later on in the telecast. Class 2A, the Watertown Purple Tigers, no problem with Tellico Plains in the first round. Big night for Doremus Carey. Touches the ball 4 times out of the backfield, 61 yards. 3 of those 4 touches went from touchdowns. They had a 60-yard punt return by Caden C. Quantarius Hughes-Malone, a 52-yard punt return for touchdown. Brady Watts representing the defense, 60-yard interception return as they hold Tellico Plains to 190 yards, 3 turnovers. No surprise here, Coach. Big win for Watertown. They'll get Bledsoe this week. They saw Bledsoe last year in the first round. Watertown, when they're firing on all cylinders, do you feel like they're playing their best football right now?
I think so, Tom. This is the kind of score you expect in a 1 play and a 16. A 1 play and a 4, you expect a big 3, 4, 5 touchdown blowout kind of thing. Complimentary football by Watertown. And we knew early on, based on what had happened with last year and Coach Webster, you get a big win over Trousdale early. How do you keep your team focused for the rest of it? For the most part, they did. They play a tough schedule. They get ready, and they zone in on that first game of the playoffs. That's to the side. Let's zone in on the second. You get 3 big returns off special teams or off your defense. That's complementing the offense. The offense with Carey. 4 scores, 3 scores on 4 touches. Just a great football effort by Watertown, and look for Coach Webster to keep them doing that in round 2.
So many weapons for that team. And again, can't overlook Bledsoe, but I know they are eyeballing a possible quarterfinal round matchup, a rematch, if you will, with Trousdale County. Let's wrap things up in 3A with the Smith County Owls. This game came down to the final 23 seconds. Sweetwater goes for it on 4th down, a pass down to the 5-yard line, incomplete. Smith County wins it by a point. John Ross Horde, another great effort, 138 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Cameron Spivey, 5 of 9, 78 yards, 2 scores, 13 rushes, 114 yards, a couple of touchdowns receiving for Eli Martin. We'll come back and talk about the Owls a little bit more in our next segment. When we do come back, we will have all the scores from around the area and first round playoff action. We'll take a look at the updated brackets and the second round matchups later on. This is the box score on DTC Sports.
Adams Dental is a general and cosmetic dental practice dedicated to improving your smile and the overall oral health of you and your family. We have the combined passion, enthusiasm, and expertise to deliver you and your family affordable, high-quality dentistry. We will show you a gentle and comfortable experience while creating the smile you have always desired. Our office is located on the square in Alexandria, and we strive to provide quality dental care in a relaxing environment. Adams Dental, 111 South Public Square, Alexandria.
Throughout your life, there will be times when you need a well-rounded, experienced attorney. Consider the expertise of Brandon Beller, attorney at law. He can help you with the benefit of his broad legal experience for everything from estate planning to probate, from wills and trusts to general litigation, from business law to collections. Attorney Brandon Beller can provide you highly qualified legal representation. Call Brandon Beller, attorney at law, today.
Back on this week's edition of the Box Score here on DTC Sports, as again we're taking a look back at Week 1 of the TSSAA High School Playoffs. The road to the Blue Cross Bowl continues this week with Round 2. Coach, we're going to dig into the scores from the area regions that we've covered throughout the course of the season. talk a little bit more about these games, and we'll kind of start things off in 1A, and we've already touched already, of course, on the Gordonsville-Copper Basin score, and we've also touched on this, the big upset, one of the biggest upsets in Tennessee. Yes, Whitwell is the Class 1A defending state champions, but Whitwell 2-8 in the regular season. Their only wins, they struggled to get by Grundy County, and they beat Lookout Valley, but they take it to perfect 10-0 Monterey, 21-7. Huge upset there in Class 1A. Clay County, no problem with Sale Creek. South Pittsburgh, as expected, an easy win. But, Coach, your heart goes out for Coach Scott Hughes and those Monterey Wildcats. Best regular season in school history, 10-0. And just reading Coach Hughes' comments in the paper, you know, he just felt like Whitwell was the better football team that night. And maybe some of that championship, you know, caliber play came back to the surface for this Whitwell team.
Yeah, Whitwell's the champions until somebody takes it away. Now,
Right.
They obviously aren't the region champions anymore. That was taken. But as far as the state champions, that's still there, and they're still playing for that. As a 10-0 team, you really expect to go in and win that first-round game. I know that Monterey had a great season, 10-0, first time ever, and the town is buzzing.
Yeah.
To win one game in the playoffs would have probably solidified, and that would have been great.
Sure.
To go 10-0 and then lose in the first round, do a 2-8 is kind of a sour taste.
Oh.
And I know the juniors coming back, the sophomores, the freshmen from this year's team are going to think that there's business left unfinished, and so that's hopefully going to motivate them for next year.
Absolutely. And again, your heart goes out for a team like that, and a fine coach like Coach Hughes and a great program he has over there. But again, the heart of a champion, and credit to the Whitwell Tigers. And again, they'll be in Gordonsville this Friday night. We'll talk more about that game coming up. In Class 2A, of course, we already mentioned the Watertown Purple Tigers. Trousdale County shuts out Marion County. Coach, how many years with Trousdale County versus Marion County? Just been one of those games that might have been a state, you know, semifinal rather than a first-round game. Bledsoe County easily over East Robertson. Tyner Academy steamrolls Westmoreland. All chalk here in this one. Coach, none of these games were really close, and all the teams that were supposed to win did win. I thought East Robertson might play Bledsoe a little bit closer, but I think this is a better Bledsoe team than they were a year ago, and that's got to have Watertown's attention just a little bit in round 2.
I think so. This is one of those brackets where most people are able to predict, go ahead and take the 1 and 2. I think there's separation in the 2 and the 3 teams in both of these regions. And so that's setting up some interesting matchups, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And you're going to have a real good second-round game, a couple of games for this region.
Let's go to Region 4 at 3A, or Class 3A, as you will. We'll talk about the scores there. Upperman blanks Signal Mountain 45-0. It wasn't so many years ago. Coach, you and I were down at Signal Mountain with the DTC Sports crew, watching them put 59 on DeKalb County in a playoff game. They've struggled these last several seasons and had nothing to put up against the Upperman Bees. Smith County, we'll come back and talk about the Owls a little bit more in a moment. Red Bank had to shake off a slow start. They shut out Sequatchie County 21-0, but that game was close all throughout the first half. Loudon, no problem with York Institute. Coach, back to Smith County, and you see 138 yards and 2 touchdowns from John Ross Horde last week. I'd put up a strong argument. He's playing his very best offensive football right now. If they can continue to run the ball and you get another 114 rushing from Spivey and have Spivey out there throwing, you know, those 8 to 10 passes a game you're going to get, yes, Loudon's a tough team that they're going to have to go on the road and play this week. I like Smith County right now. I like how they're playing, and I think their defense is much improved as well.
I think so, Tom. I've been talking all season about it. I think Coach Murray and the offensive staff has really put together a good game plan late in the season. We're going to ride John Ross Horde.
Right.
And we're going to let him do the damage. I would like to see Cameron Spivey throw more of the intermediate routes, the quick releases, and if those things aren't open, if they're covered, blanketed, undercut, then use his legs and scramble, and he can still hurt you with the inside and outside zone reads and keeps. But, yeah, a real good turnaround, real good climate change for the new coaching staff to come in. Great job finishing second, and I think this kind of solidifies the job to get at least one win in the playoffs. Puts an exclamation point on the job that coaching staff has done this year.
And certainly Coach Murray, he'll have his team ready to go down to the Loudon an 11-0 team, and one of the tops in the state in the 3A classification. But you bet your boots Smith County is going to be ready to go down there and give them a fight. Let's go to Class 4A, and we'll look at Regions 3 and 4. Livingston Academy takes care of Maplewood. We mentioned DeKalb County. Nolensville all over Macon County. Marshall County down Stone Memorial. And again here, Coach, you got a case of chalk, but Again, DeKalb County, a bit of a surprise maybe to some folks over Tullahoma. Livingston Academy, this is a game that I pointed out last week. I wanted to see how they do against Maplewood. They come out with a 27-8 win. I don't really know how the game played out. Even at 3-7, I thought Maplewood was a dangerous team for Livingston.
Oh, I did too. I talked about the records of the 7 games they lost. Those opponents, you know, combined like 52-18. That's pretty impressive. We know through the history that Maplewood has a ton of athletes.
Always.
Always big and strong and fast, and play much better than a 3-7 team. So my hat's off to Livingston. My hat's off to DeKalb County. And then you look at 3-4A after being shut out last year in these 4 games.
Yeah.
They're 1-2 hold serve. And so that's going to set up for a couple interesting matchups this weekend.
All right, let's wrap up things in 6A as we'll look at Regions 3 and 4 on the 6A front. Oakland, again, they had to shake off kind of a sluggish start. They shut out Lebanon 34-0. Blackman over Wilson Central 24-0. This is my second biggest shocker of the week. I know Riverdale was a 3 going to Mount Juliet. I thought Riverdale would win this game. Credit to Mount Juliet, a big win for them. Hendersonville outscores Cookeville. So like we've seen in 4A, Region 4A this year, Coach, they came to be represented. They win 2 of the 4. They hold serve in their 1s and 2s, just like we saw in the 4A classification. 2 big wins there. I don't know how they'll fare against Oakland and Blackman coming up this week, but hats off to Mount Juliet and Hendersonville. 2 big wins.
Yeah, Oakland's a really good football team. Feel a little sympathy and a little, you know, emotional for Coach Shaw as they go in against that and get blanketed 34-0. Another score that really interested me was the Cookeville-Hendersonville. A ton of points scored in that one.
Yeah.
Again, a number 1 and number 4. So I thought that was a pretty good showing out of Cookeville to go up against Hendersonville and to compete with them like they did. And again, maybe a little shift back in power.
All right, when we come back, round 2 of the TSSAA state playoffs. We'll talk about the area matchups and some teams to look out for down the road. All that coming up as you watch the box score here on DTC Sports.
At Huff and Puff Trucking, we strive to be different, especially in how we treat our drivers. We understand that drivers want honesty and respect. They want top pay and want to be able to get home to spend time with their family. If you would like to learn more about the difference Huff and Puff Trucking can make for you and your family, call us at 800-965-5033 or visit our website at huffpufftrucking.com.
Adams Dental is a general and cosmetic dental practice dedicated to improving your smile and the overall oral health of you and your family. We have the combined passion, enthusiasm, and expertise to deliver you and your family affordable, high-quality dentistry. We will show you a gentle and comfortable experience while creating the smile you have always desired. Our office is located on the square in Alexandria, and we strive to provide quality dental care in a relaxing environment. Adams Dental, 111 South Public Square, Alexandria.
Throughout your life, there will be times when you need a well-rounded, experienced attorney. Consider the expertise of Brandon Beller, attorney at law. He can help you with the benefit of his broad legal experience for everything from estate planning to probate, from wills and trusts to general litigation, from business law to collections. Attorney Brandon Beller can provide you highly qualified legal representation. Call Brandon Beller, attorney at law, today.
Does the service from your security company leave you feeling uncertain? Like us, you want to feel good about your security company because your home and family safety is so important.
Gift yourself peace of mind with Total Home Security for just $49.99. System includes a touch keypad, 3 window or door sensors, motion detector, key fob, and standard installation.
You're ready for local security service. Give us a call or visit DTC online and discover our local values today.
Back here on the box score, we are set to talk week 2 of the TSSAA State High School Football Playoffs as the road to the Blue Cross Bowl in Cookeville, Tennessee continues. And, Coach, we're going to start things out in Class 1A, and we've talked about the teams who won last week. Now who plays who? Let's take a look as we'll take a look at the bracket. This week it's Clay County and South Pittsburgh. It's Whitwell and Gordonsville. Coach, it's Clay County and Mike Dickerson's a pretty potent defense. Only 2 points allowed in the first week against Vic Grider's outstanding offense at South Pittsburgh. That's going to be one to watch. And in Gordonsville against this upstart Whitwell team, can Whitwell create a little magic a la maybe Livingston of 2005?
Maybe so. I like the way the South Pitt's been playing. We followed them all year, and we realize just how good they are and their tradition and their history. I like the way Gordonsville seems to be starting to peak as they start to get some players back. I'm surprised that Whitwell was able to pull off the big upset of Monterey. We think it's an upset. So that's going to be a very interesting game over at Gordonsville. You have to tip your hand and give your thoughts and your ideas and your speculation to Gordonsville if they're going to be able to pull that off. But I would have done the same thing with Monterey last week. So who knows what Whitwell has in store for the Gordonsville Tigers. I think with the absence of Monterey that this is South Pittsburgh's quadrant, whatever, to kind of win.
Certainly looks that way, but we know Gordonsville and South Pittsburgh have quite the playoff history. Should it come down to that one in the quarterfinals, maybe anything goes, especially if that Gordonsville team here is peaking at just the right time. Let's go to the 2A classification, talk about the games that are coming up there. And the one most people are probably going to be watching is going to be Tyner and Trousdale County for the second year in a row. Tyner, a big, impressive win over Westmoreland last week. Trousdale County seems like they've been on a mission, much like last year since the loss to Watertown. Watertown with Bledsoe in the bottom half. Folks are going to peg Watertown to win that. Can Tyner hold serve at home, or is Trousdale County too good, Coach? I lean Trousdale, but you got to make that trip down to Chattanooga if you're the Yellow Jackets.
You do, and I'm trying to remember my notes from last week. I think this is a rematch of the second-round game last year, and I believe Trousdale won 35-0 over Tyner. So if that's correct, then I still look for the same kind of thing to happen. I think when you look at Watertown and Trousdale, these are two nemesis against one another that make the other team better.
Right.
You know that Trousdale wants that rematch again like last year with Watertown. You know Watertown is just going to stay zoned in and, knock the dominoes over one at a time. And so I think we're destined for that again. Look for Trousdale to upend Tyner.
And, of course, whoever comes out of this quadrant, they likely will have Meigs County to deal with, just like last year. Meigs County sitting at 10-1 after a first-round playoff win. Let's go to the 3A classification, and the games we'll be watching this week include Loudon at home against Smith County. Loudon last week, no problem with York Institute. Smith County, that one-point win we talked about. Red Bank Upperman, and I still go back to this, Coach. If Upperman's going to make it to the state semifinals to face Alcoa, they're going to have to beat Red Bank, and they're going to have to beat an undefeated Loudon team. That's just to get to Alcoa. That's a tough, tough gauntlet. And again, I do like this Upperman team. Can they get through that unscathed?
Looking at the Loudon-Red Bank game in Week 11, Loudon just dismantled Red Bank. Now, who knows what happened? Turnovers, they got up early, forced Red Bank out of their style, out of their system, and just poured it on, and who knows?
Right.
I'm more worried about Upperman going up against Loudon than I am Upperman going up against Red Bank. So I think Upperman's going to be fine this Friday. I think it's a real tough matchup for Smith County.
Right.
I still think they're a year away from being really, really good, and I think that Loudon's there right now. So I think you're going to be looking at Loudon and Upperman in a couple of weeks.
All right, let's go to Class 4A and talk about where DeKalb County will be going. That is Marshall County this week. Livingston Academy takes on Nolensville. I'm going to step on the ledge here, Coach. I feel better about DeKalb County's chances at Marshall County than I actually do about Livingston at home against Nolensville. I think there's just something special about this Nolensville team, and I know Marshall County beat them pretty soundly, but I honestly like DeKalb County's chances better in their game Friday night.
Briefly on Nolensville, I know you just got a minute. Nick Koutras was the head coach at Overton in Nashville for a long time. And his son, Chris Koutras, and I are pretty good friends. And Chris Koutras' son plays for Nolensville, and he's one of the Mr. 4A finalists for that. So Nolensville's got a real good football team, and they're talented as well. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Livingston. I like DeKalb, and some insider kind of stuff. I feel like Marshall was afraid to go up against Tullahoma again.
Right.
And for DeKalb to play the way they did against the Tullahoma, they should have all the confidence in the world, even though they're traveling, to go to Marshall. Marshall should be scared. Can DeKalb continue for 4 more quarters like they did against Tullahoma? That's on DeKalb.
Sure.
And like Coach Trapp has always said, we're going to control and we're going to do what we do. And if we execute and we perform and we grade out well, then put anybody you want to in front of us,
sure.
and we're confident.
All right. DeKalb County, though, as you mentioned, they're 6-0 at home. They're 1-4 on the road this year. They're going to have to give a great effort on the road to move on to the playoffs. Let's hit 6A real quick before we go to break. The matchups there will feature Oakland against Mount Juliet, Blackman, Hendersonville. The Rutherford County teams have got to be the heavy favorites in these 2 games, I would expect. Particularly Oakland still being the #1 team in the state. I would look for them to move on to meet in the quarterfinals. Coach and I will wrap it up when we come back to the box score here on DTC Sports.
Are you a Class A CDL driver? Would you like to be home weekly? Do you want outstanding pay? Then Huff and Puff is for you. We offer an industry-leading pay package with a dispatch structure that maximizes your home time. To learn more about a company that knows you by name and treats you like family, call 615-765-5033. Huff and Puff Trucking. We hire good people.
Adams Dental is a general and cosmetic dental practice dedicated to improving your smile and the overall oral health of you and your family. We have the combined passion, enthusiasm, and expertise to deliver you and your family affordable, high-quality dentistry. We will show you a gentle and comfortable experience while creating the smile you have always desired. Our office is located on the square in Alexandria, and we strive to provide quality dental care in a relaxing environment. Adams Dental, 111 South Public Square, Alexandria.
Throughout your life, there will be times when you need a well-rounded, experienced attorney. Consider the expertise of Brandon Beller, attorney at law. He can help you with the benefit of his broad legal experience for everything from estate planning to probate, from wills and trusts to general litigation, from business law to collections. Attorney Brandon Beller can provide you highly qualified legal representation. Call Brandon Beller, attorney at law, today.
Back to wrap it up on this week's edition of the Box Score. Coach, we've got about 90 seconds for some final thoughts here as we get set for week 2 of the playoffs. Unfortunately, we will not have a game for football game night this Friday night, but we do wish all of our area teams the very best this week. As you mentioned, we kind of lean toward our picks, I guess, for the area teams. I do like Gordonsville in a matchup with Whipple. I think Watertown, no problem with Bledsoe County. I think they will move on to meet Trousdale County in the next round. I think it'll be Gordonsville South Pitt in the next round. And in 3A, got to lean toward Loudon and Upperman, just as you did in your analysis of the 3A bracket. And I'm going to go with Marshall County, but I think they're going to have their hands full with DeKalb County. I think 3-4A had a nice stand, and I'd hate to see Livingston's season end at 11-0. But I just favor Nolensville there. But I think we're going to have some pretty good competitive games, and I'm looking forward to see who the shocking upsets will be this week.
And we'll have those shocking upsets. You know, that's going to happen. Obviously, we want our local teams, the teams that we cover, to do well. I think I'm pretty dead on with your predictions as well. Livingston, I haven't seen them in person, so I don't know. I haven't seen Nolensville either.
Right.
So that's kind of flip a coin. But, you know, we've seen DeKalb at its worst. We've seen DeKalb at its best a couple of times this year. And if it's that DeKalb team that goes up against Marshall, Marshall better look out. Upperman, we've seen them. We know that they're really good.
Right.
Smith County, I think they've got an uphill challenge, but I think it's doable. Race can go anyway. I like Trousdale. I like Watertown. I like Gordonsville. Do what I'm going to do. I don't have a game to work this, but I'm going to find one and go to it. And I'm going to be in the sideline or press box somewhere, and I'm going to try and find me a good football game to go to. I encourage you all to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Get out and watch the Friday Night Lights. You don't have to stay at home and watch it on TV. Go watch it in person. Enjoy the ambiance. Get a hamburger, hot dog, and it's not going to be 25 degrees, so it won't be a bad night, actually, Friday night weather-wise. All right. Well, they got producer and director Nick Noakes, and for the coach, Chris Vance, I'm Tom Duggin. Saying so long this week from the Box Score.